I mean, you probably making even before 2000, you was probably still making $50 an hour, wasn't you?
$49.80.
See, I didn't miss it too far, did I?
No.
Plus, you had a lot of benefits.
Yeah. They still pay me.
I imagine. If you was working for, what company did you say it was? A power plant?
Electric Energy Incorporated, what it's called.
Okay, they're in Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
Around
Joppa. It's across the river from Shawnee Steam Plant.
Yeah.
You know where that's at.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got 3 stacks. Shawnee's got 2.
Well, so you've been living here now for about 25 years.
Yeah. We came here and we camped right up over here on the hill.
On this side of the road?
Yeah. For years. My camper's still there. I sold it, but it's still there.
Right.
We went down the street and we built our own campground.
You built your own campground?
Yeah.
Now wait a minute. Even though I'm from Tennessee, I know people up here.
Okay.
I don't know nothing about no other campground.
Crockett Frontiers, just right down the road from Patty's. In fact, there's a road that separates us, but our property joins Patty's in the rear.
It joins it in the rear?
Yes.
I know where you're talking about. Over there in behind the church. Over in behind the Baptist church.
Yeah.
I know exactly. I know the preacher there. What's his name?
I don't know. We don't go to church there. We go to church in Paducah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Man, ain't
Heartland.
Yeah. Every time I see a barge like that that's all letting up like that,
I like it.
I do too. It just something about it has a relaxing feeling about it.
Well, those guys that have one light on each side in the front, they're dangerous. If you're out boating at night.
Well, I ain't never been on one.
I damn near hit one night.
Really?
Yes.
Well, you had a fishing rig or something?
I just played a boat.
Yeah.
We were down at King Lake.
Yeah.
At the music festival down there every year. I don't know, it was about midnight. We decided to pull out. I was headed across the channel, and all of a sudden I just cut her around hard because I almost hit one of them things.
I'll be darned.
Not enough lights on it.
In other words, he wasn't lit up like that one is.
No.
You know, since that Freightliner hit that bridge and knocked that bridge down,
Oh yeah.
I just imagine that's changed a lot of rules and lax rules pertaining to what them guys are doing, including barge traffic and etc. I think they should have had big, loud sirens on that bridge and all kinds of lights.
It wouldn't have mattered. The guy wasn't in the.
Well, it wouldn't have mattered in that particular case,
No.
and that because he lost power and lost control of the unit.
Right.
But I'm just saying, if anybody got within just a certain amount of yards or certain amount of feet or whatever, I think all kinds of stuff ought to be activated and just a barrage of freaking lights and noises and everything else.
In this day and time, we can do that. You know, several years back we couldn't. But
Well, you know, whenever they first designed that bridge and put that bridge up, that was a good, secure bridge.
oh yes.
But who in God's name would ever thought that the Freightliners would have become as huge as what they are today? Somebody told me that Freightliners today can be as long as 4 or 5 football fields.
Oh yeah.
4 or 5 football fields full of nothing but freight. I'm talking about probably millions and millions of tons of freight.
Me and my wife, we go on cruises, sometimes for 2 months at a time, and you'd be surprised at how big these damn boats are.
Where did y'all see them at?
In the Mediterranean,
Okay.
mostly.
Yeah. Yeah. How about them boats that goes up through the Sino Canal.
Panama Canal.
Panama Canal, yeah.
Now, they're limited to their size.
I know.
If they're too big, they got to go around.
Yeah.
I don't know what the size is.
Well, this past 2 years, they've had struggles pertaining to water issues up in that area. That every time they flood that lot, I don't forgot now how many hundreds of thousands of gallons it takes. But whenever you're in the middle of a drought,
A bunch of water.
yes.
Just to get one boat from one level to the other.
But let me ask you something. How come there's that much difference in levels? Why is that?
I don't understand that.
I don't understand it neither. I mean, you got an ocean that's all simultaneously the same, but just because you got a peninsula, is it because of the backwater? Because the way that those waves are hitting, and it basically makes the whole thing rise up that high right there on that peninsula?
I do not know.
It's got to be. It's got to be.
There are some few things in this world I don't know.
There's got to be a logical answer to it, and that's got to be one of them. You know what I'm saying? Because whenever you're coming in from the east side, you're a lot lower than you are on the west side. The west side is a whole lot higher.
Yes. It's up to put you on the west side.
It's got to be because it's hitting against that peninsula and it's back pressuring that water. And you wouldn't think that it would do that, but you got to keep in mind, you ain't just back pressuring right there in that one little spot where they bring them boats in. You're back pressuring the whole freaking west coast, the whole freaking Mexico coast, the whole freaking South America coast. That's a lot of freaking land right there holding that water back.
You're exactly right.
So that right there, I think, is what's raising it. Probably, I think they said it was what, 20 something feet, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's 20 or 22.
It's way on up there.
When we went through there, there was boats going both ways. And by the way, they're building a new lock.
Over here.
No, there in Panama Canal.
Oh, well, there's been one here too. They're building one over here too.
That's 4 times longer. Exactly 4 times longer than the one they have right now.
4 times longer?
Yes.
Did you know at one time we used to own that?
Well, certainly. They gave it away.
Why? Stupid politicians back in the 70s?
Well, they hadn't got any smarter.
Tell me about it. Just like giving all the oil away to the Arabs over there.
Yeah.
Huh?
I don't know where your politics are.
Oh man, it right now it's in the gut. It's in the gutter.
I can't vote for Harris, and I don't want to vote for Trump.
I'm not going to vote neither. I've decided.
I'm going to vote.
I've decided that neither one of them is worthy of my vote. And you know, ever since,
You gotta put the lesser of two evils in there.
But it's still evil.
It is.
It's still evil.
It is. You're exactly right, Dennis.
Yeah, that right there looks so pleasant. It's just something about that gives a.
Oh, he's got a toe out there in front of him.
Does he?
We don't see.
Yeah.
Way big. And that's the part that kill you.
You talking about the wake?
No, the toe that he's pushing.
Oh yeah. That we can't even see.
No, we can't see it.
Who knows? It's liable to be what, 6 deep, 4 deep.
I'd say 600-800 feet. Because they split the toes, go through the locks down there.
Well, you know, Mississippi River right now is almost so low that it's the barge drivers are having trouble again.
Oh yeah.
And the ferry down there in Hickman, it's shut down. They ain't running the ferry right now in Hickman.
Low water.
Low water. I didn't realize it was that much difference on the Missouri side. The Missouri side is the side that ain't near as deep, and that's the side that'll make it just about impossible for that ferry to get up in there.
Hickman is, refresh my memory.
Hickman is just on the other side of Union City.
Yeah.
Hickman.
And they push over to, there's a town over there on the other side in Missouri.
New Madrid.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the fault line is.
Right.
Or where the heart of the fault line is. I think the fault line actually starts in Memphis and goes all the way to St. Louis. If you can believe that. That's a big fault line.
Well, over in Illinois, where I used to live, raised my family, and I was raised there, and we finally sold out to come to Kentucky.
I bet you're glad too, ain't you?
Well,
I bet this was
I really
one.
I really like that.
Yeah, I bet you that this was probably one of the most pleasantest investments that you've made in your entire life towards coming here. Me and my wife, we was going to invest here, and I've done a whole lot of research up in here.
Well, I got campground for sale.
Well, I don't know. That would be expensive.
Well, all you gotta do is write a check.
You got to be good in behind it, though, don't you?
Do what?
You got to be good in behind it.
Well, yeah. Sometimes.
How many campsites will your campsite hold? 8, 10?
Oh no, we got 54.
Oh, really? All right, tell me exactly where it is again.
We're past Patty's. On the left.
Uh-huh.
You'll see a sign down there. It's about between 3/8 of a mile from Patty's.
Okay. How many acres you got? About 6, 7?
We've got the campground on 6 acres,
Okay.
and we own an additional 6
Gotcha.
that is undeveloped, and I ain't got no plans to develop it. I'm too old for it.
Let me ask you a question.
Sir,
Have you ever heard any type of tall tale that people would like to put in the category of a tall tale, that after the buyout in the early 30s pertaining to the way that the Tennessee River swelled and basically swallowed up hundreds of thousands of acres, that the government was basically buying for at that time for as little as $7 to $12 an acre, LBL, and then they done the same thing again on the other side, Cumberland River.
Yep.
And then here come President Kennedy that used some sort of fancy ass federal word pertaining to kicking everybody off of the property.
And they did.
Intimate what?
And they did.
Intimate something.
Eminent domain.
Intimate domain. And kicked everybody off. But just a few weeks after he done that, that man wound up dead. Have you ever heard anybody say anything to you that was the reason why that he wound up being assassinated was because of this last move that he made up here? Have you not?
I haven't. But I wouldn't doubt it.
Well,
There was a lot of people mad about it, and they still are.
Oh God, yes they are. And I didn't realize how much of a beehive that I walked into up here. Well, I actually got acquainted up here. Like I said, I'm from Weakley County, which is give or take about, from here you got to go to Mayfield, Kentucky.
Yeah, I know where you're at.
Okay, so I'm basically about an hour away, a little over maybe. And I got acquainted with this place in 1988 and had no earthly idea towards what it was or what it was about. Now don't get me wrong, I heard hunting stories of how good the hunting was up here, but as far as me knowing the details of why this become what it become and when it become what it become, I had no idea until I come up here and started doing a whole lot of research. And I actually started going to houses in the late 80s, knocking on people's door, asking them what their opinion about all this was. And like you said, it ruffled up some freaking feathers, son, that it would probably take at least another generation or two before it would finally start to calm down.
Oh yeah, you're right about that.
Yes, sir. I mean, these people got highly pissed over it, and I don't blame them at all, because my God, they had villages, they had towns, they had graves, they had churches, they had city halls, they had everything. You know the town of Birmingham?
Yes.
It's basically right over in that area, just a little bit further up.
It's about 10 miles down, right out in the middle of the lake.
But there was a lot of families and a lot of farms that got bought out pertaining to the TVA project.
You can call it a buyout if you want to.
I mean, you can go up into East Tennessee, up around Maryville, and places like that, and you'll find out where they just basically just flooded all kinds of Indian grave sites and burial sites and didn't care nothing about it. Didn't care nothing at all about it. Eminent domain. Because actually the river starts somewhere up in East Tennessee, don't it? Up in the north tip of Tennessee, up around New Taswell or somewhere.
Oh yeah.
That's where it starts.
It's just
The Cumberland Plateau, where it starts right there, where they built that tunnel in Kentucky. That's all the rain comes basically back this way, and all the rain on the other side of the plateau goes back the other way.
There are 3 rivers in the world that run like the Tennessee and the Cumberland, south to north. The rest of them run north to south.
And we talking about thousands of rivers that ordinarily goes south to north, that goes north to south, but this is one of the 2 rivers here that goes the opposite direction.
One of 3.
One of 3.
Is in Africa.
Really?
Yeah, it comes out of
Have you ever thought about what causes that, or why that done that?
well, mountains.
Yeah,
Mountains cause it.
pressure,
Yeah.
pressure and velocity. That's just like that hurricane that I seen a thing posted a day or 2 ago that said, how in the world can Asheville, North Carolina, a town, get flooded that's 2,300 and something feet above sea level?
Now, since you're on that subject, and we're talking about eminent domain, there are 3 or 4 Washington politicians. That is the largest deposit of what's that stuff they use for computers.
Yes. Up there in that area. Yes. Making. I know what you're talking about.
They've been trying to
Steal it.
yeah,
Steal it.
get it set up so they can mine it,
Uh-huh.
and the people there don't want it like that. And FEMA went in there and offered them people $750 to help them get back on their feet. Well, there's nothing there to get back on their feet with.
Exactly.
They don't have any jobs. They don't have
750. Besides that, most of them people up there, if you can buy a piece of property up there in the hills for less than $250,000 to $500,000, you got to steal, because some of them people probably paid as much as $1 million or $1.5 million for some of them properties up there, because going to the mountains is almost like going to the ocean or going to the river. I mean, that's just predominant property.
Yeah, I didn't know all that. I didn't
Yes.
know property values, but
Yes, it's high.
I know
It's expensive.
the mining possibilities are absolutely unlimited, and to offer them people $700,
It was an insult.
which they have to pay back.
It was an insult.
Of course, FEMA spent all their money on illegal immigrants.
Yeah, and all the double time and the triple time that they was paying all them border patrol agents and stuff. Yeah. Well,
we can go on and on and on. I'm not a conspiracy theory person, but I mean, sometimes you gotta look at the handwriting on the wall.
absolutely. If it's, as my Grandpa used to always say, if it looked like a duck, quacked like a duck, and sounded like a duck, it's a duck, ain't it?
Yeah, maybe a duck.
It's odds are it's a duck. But getting back to this little project over here,
Which one?
right here,
Yeah.
LBL, right here on Tennessee River.
Yeah.
I got caught up in something, man, that I never would have thought in a million, zillion, trillion years that I would have got caught up in. Whenever I first come to LBL and got acquainted with this area, it was in the late 80s. And at that time, TVA was in control of LBL.
Well, they basically are now, but
No, they gave it over to the Forestry Division in 2000. Now they're still in control of a certain portion of it from the water's edge. I think it's like 300 feet. And of course, some of those people, you know, if you have riverfront property, it's limited in whether or not you can even build a building on it, just a shed, because TVA owns that basically. And if it ever was to flood, you wouldn't get no type of recourse on it flooding, because it actually belongs to TVA. So TVA is in part of control of it. But this is what I'm getting at. Whenever I first got acquainted with LBL, TVA was in control of it. And as far as the law diplomatic part of it, it was very limited at that time. Very limited. You hardly ever seen a freaking cop. Well, whenever the Forestry Division bought it over, I had done already set up a camp up around.
A what?
A camp.
Yeah.
I had already set up a camp with an altar in it up around Sugar Bay. You have to take about a mile from Sugar Bay.
Yep.
Off Legal Road 141.
Well, I go to it by water, but yeah, okay.
And I'd actually went up there and stayed the first time for a full 40 days and 40 nights and never left the area.
Really?
I left only to go get something, maybe to drink or some supplies, and then I'd come back. But I stayed up there for a full 40 days and 40 nights towards talking to God, towards God sanctifying a sword symbolizing peace on earth. And after it was all said and done with, I locked the sword up into a box. This was in I discovered the site in 88. I actually went up there in 89 and done all this, and then started a crusade. Me and my son went up to New York, Washington, D.C. on our first crusade, passing out Bible literature and telling people about the end times, about Revelations and the book of Daniel and stuff.
That's admirable.
And whenever I come back, I dropped him off because school was starting. I couldn't keep him with me all the time because school had started. He had to go back to school. So his mama took him over. And then I went back to Washington, D.C., passing out more information and talking to more people. And I'll be darned if I didn't wind up, and I don't know what type of person that you are, and I hope that you don't take offensive to this, but I wound up getting enough attention the second time that I went up there that whenever I left, they put a tail on me.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
They put a tail on me that was following me everywhere I went, and who I was talking to and what this was all about. I'm talking about a guy that probably stayed on the road for a month. Because I didn't just drive straight from Washington, D.C. back to Tennessee. I would stop off at different towns, and I'd go to Kinko's and get more material and pass it out and stuff. And finally, there towards the last, I was back in my hometown area, which I'm pretty sure he knew just exactly where I lived and et cetera. Matter of fact, this stiff wound up going into my grandmother's house in Kenton, Tennessee.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Asking her what this was all, asking her and my mother and my brother what this was all about. And they said, we don't know. It's just something that he believes in, something that he's doing. He's just spreading the gospel. Well, he wound up getting orders from headquarters, and I was, at that time, I was in Madison County, Jackson, Tennessee, and I had horses in the back of my truck. I had a PA system where I could just go around and tell people about what I was talking about to gain a little interest. And I'll be darned if I wasn't pulled over by 2 PDs that arrested me for a deadly weapon.
Did you have one?
Well, I had a sword locked up in a box, if you want to call that a deadly weapon.
Well, it is.
But the sword was so dull, it was made out of aluminum, and it was something like you'd use in Sinbad and the Sailors with. It wasn't even a real sword. But you know what? I still went to jail. I still got charged for a deadly weapon, and they still destroyed that sword, while a black car over there that had been following me for 30 days, Secret Service, basically supervised it.
Really?
Supervised the arrest. Yes, sir. They didn't want to make a big deal out of it towards them coming in and confiscating the sword. But the thing about it is, it wouldn't have mattered, because the sword was locked up in a box that you could visually see, but you couldn't get to. It took the police officers probably about 30 minutes of breaking it open with crowbars and hammers and stuff. Yeah, it took them that long to get it open. But it wouldn't have mattered if it would have been a sword. It wouldn't have mattered if it would have been a bugle. It wouldn't have mattered if it would have been a piece of purple cloth. It wouldn't have mattered if it would have been a Bible or a songbook of a Bible or any of the above. Whenever it says separation from church and state, that's exactly what that means. And whenever they intervened in that ministry, they basically corrupted their own constitution by breaking their constitution. And ever since 1989, I have seen this thing go plundering downhill towards basically the Ruby. It started out with the Ruby Ridge. In the middle of the Ruby Ridge, you had the attack on the Twin Towers. In the process of the Twin Towers, you had the 51-day standoff. Then it went from 2 years from the 51-day standoff to the Oklahoma bombing. Then it went from the Oklahoma bombing to 9/11, 9/11.
Yep.
And any and all the above in between there, pertaining to Desert Storm, Desert Shield, which was before 9/11. That was in 89. Yeah, 89. 88, 89. And basically this whole freaking thing, man, has went to hell in a handbasket.
Oh, you're right about that.
And then we had COVID. And then where we're at right now, pertaining to us being $35 trillion, and basically got 2 major wars on two different peninsulas, that either war could break into probably a world war. And I don't know what the CIA and what the Pentagon's going to do if there was an actual 2 world wars going on at the same time. Because to be quite honest with you, I don't think, and I don't mean to be degrading or disregarding our youth, because I think a lot about our youth, don't get me wrong, but I truly believe that if they was to mandate a draft in this country, my God, you'd see more freaking kids running to the freaking Canada border or getting the hell out of here going to Mexico than you've ever thought about.
You're right.
So we're in trouble. We're in trouble whenever it comes to the true backbone of America.
And another thing, we don't have in this country anymore, in World War II,
I'm frightened.
They switched things over and they started building war equipment.
Right.
Because we had a base already started. They were, building cars and this and that. We had an industrial base. We don't have that anymore. We are a what do they call it?
Sub. We're like a subcontractor now in a lot of these countries.
All of our work on our aircraft carriers,
yeah,
all that is all done overseas.
Yeah.
We don't have any industry here anymore.
Right. We've subbed it out. We've subbed it out to other countries.
And
that
all our fuel anymore for aircraft carriers and all that, the nuclear fuel made in Russia or China.
Well, I know that
we don't have any.
I know that over 90% of our medical supplies come from China.
Yeah.
And I know this, that whenever COVID hit, they had a boatload of stuff coming over here for medical supplies. Before it hit. And then after it hit, they turned the boat around before they ever got to America and took it back to China.
I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. And I'm talking about a big boat. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I don't know if you know this or not, but North Korea just sent 1,500 troops over to Russia to fight against the Ukrainians.
Really?
Yes, sir. That happened last week.
No, I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. We've got some.
I
we
try
got some.
not to even get involved.
Well, we got some things going on right now that I don't think there's no way that we're going to be able to avoid. I mean, just like World War II. I mean, hell, our men and women over here wanted to avoid World War II.
Right.
We tried and tried and tried to avoid it, and of course, after we got blowed up in freaking Pearl Harbor over in Hawaii.
December 6th, 41.
Did you serve?
No.
You never did serve?
Vietnam was going on.
You must have had some people that served, some brothers or uncles or something.
My brother did.
Is he still with us?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good thing.
He's 88 years old. I'm the baby of the family.
Oh, okay. What are you, about 72?
No, 69.
69. I'm 63. So we're pretty close to comfortable. I wasn't born in Tennessee.
When Vietnam was going on,
Yeah.
I was still in high school,
Right.
and I went down, signed up for the draft, and I was 1A.
You got lucky. You missed a number game.
Well, what they did? No, I was right up there. I was ready to go.
Was you?
But they quit drafting. They quit drafting in 73. So they kind of hurt my feelings. I didn't join up. They didn't draft me, and I didn't sign up.
All right.
I just got married and raised a family.
Right. All right. This particular situation right here. I went back to that same praying site, and
The one where you spent 40 days.
Of course, I had been in and out all throughout my life. Stay up there for a week or two, and go and stay for a night or two. And I've taken people up there and stuff. And it's a special place to me, because in total I have spent over a year in the woods, over a year living like Jeremiah Johnson. But in 207, and there was a vast majority of stuff that has happened in between then and 207. But in 207, I wound up going down to Florida after me working Katrina for almost a year down there in little part of Mississippi in 205. 205 into 206.
Mm-hmm.
And I wound up going down to Florida to St. Augustine, and I stayed on Anastasia Island for about a year. And on the way back, God was pressing it onto my heart to buy another sword, because they had confiscated that sword, and they wasn't going to give me no sword back. So I bought another sword, and this one was a whole lot better, had it sharpened, costed a whole lot more. And I let my dad know that I was coming back to LBL to do another church retreat, a spiritual retreat. And I'll be darned if that old man didn't wind up. I don't know why he done it. I don't have, to this day, I still don't have a clue why he done it. But he got on the phone and he called up the authorities in Land Between the Lakes and told them that his son was bipolar, and that he was on a suicide mission, and that to stop him at all cost. Well, you know what that done? That put me on their radar screen. Because you don't tell the authorities something like that and think that they're not going to take that serious, because they did. Matter of fact, whenever I got up around Wrangler's Campground, before I ever even set up camp on LBL, I'd done already bought a primitive ticket. I don't forgot now what it was, $30 or something like that. But they pulled me over in front of Wrangler's Campground and was aiming to arrest me. And they held me there for 5 hours. After they had went completely through my truck from end to end. But while they was going through my personal belongings, one of them had found a sheet of paper that my boss man gave me down in Jackson, Tennessee, working at Collision Specialists, of a gag joke that he went and had a computer made up, America Most Wanted from the FBI, and my picture on it, and they found that freaking paper and took it serious. And you know what you know what took so long? They was doing a state by state investigation to find out who Dennis Jackson was. And that's what took so long. I hung them up for 5 hours. And I must have pissed somebody off because I went ahead. They didn't have nothing on me. They found a sword, but I didn't have. I mean, it ain't illegal to have a sword. You know that's part of our First Amendment.
You live in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Well, you pack a firearm on your side.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's part of our amendment. And whenever it says the Fifth Amendment pertaining to you have a right to bear arms, it don't say what kind of arms. You got a right. It don't matter if it's a BB gun. It don't matter if it's a slingshot. It don't matter if it's a bow and arrow. It don't matter if it's a sword. It don't matter if it's a gun. You got a right to bear arms. You got a right to protect yourself in America.
Exactly right.
So they couldn't kick up about that. So they went ahead and let me do my thing, and I set up camps back in that same site, that same sacred site. And I didn't realize that their laws had changed. They changed everything up there in LBL to the point that you're not allowed to stay on a campsite no longer than 14 days. And then you have to leave. You got to move at least a mile off and stay gone for 7 days before you can ever come back.
Yep.
I had no idea that those rules and regulations had come into play because I didn't know that TVA had given up their position and given it over to the Forestry Division. Well, whenever they come up there...
Let me tell you something, Dennis. Anytime I've been on several mission trips.
Have you? So you're a godly man yourself.
Several to, pardon me?
You're a godly man yourself towards wanting to help people.
Well, yeah. Several trips to eastern Kentucky to help rebuild their houses.
Right, over there in yeah. On that flood damage and stuff?
No. This is way before that.
Oh, way before that?
Yeah.
But
they suffered flood damage yearly on a smaller scale.
Yeah. They probably do.
Well, all this water comes down off these mountains.
It's got to go somewhere, don't it?
Yeah.
It goes down.
But anyway, I probably 15, 20 times I've been down there with the church. A couple of weeks at a time.
Yeah.
And we would always run into problems when you sit up and you start preaching Jesus Christ.
Are trying to do good, the devil's going to try to intervene.
Absolutely.
Every time.
Absolutely.
And it don't matter if it's a crisis or not. He's going to try to stop something that could materialize into something good. And that's exactly what happened because I stayed 14 days and didn't realize it. And I'll be darned, on the 15th day, they went up to my campsite and desecrated it. I mean, absolutely tore the tents up, tore books up. I had clothes. I had all kinds of work that I was doing toward writing material and stuff. And they tore it all to pieces and basically run me out of LBL.
Yeah.
They told me to leave.
I've been to Uganda, Africa. I was there for 2 weeks once and a week another time.
What did you think about that area? Seeing all them big elephants and all them big animals, giraffes and stuff. I bet that was cool.
Honestly?
I bet that was cool.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
honestly,
they've got man-eating tigers over there.
No, they ain't got no tigers. Ain't got no lion.
Really?
All been poached out.
They have.
We went to this nature preserve, had an armed guard with us.
Right.
I asked him, he had a banana clip hanging out of that AK-47 long.
Huh.
I asked him, I said, well, why do we have to have an armed guard? He said, well, it's not for protection against the animals. It's for protection against the poachers. If we would happen to come on a bunch of poachers,
It would be dangerous and it'd probably
would
take
try
your
to
life.
kill us.
Yeah.
So we didn't turn them in.
Yeah. Well, that's just like LBL up here. In between the 30s or somewhere around the 20s, Prohibition didn't mean nothing to these people up here. They still had freaking moonshine stills everywhere, and it wasn't nothing for them to lose maybe 4 or 5 federal agents because they done slipped up on somebody that wasn't supposed to slip up on. And even to this day, even right now, you can go to Eastern Kentucky, and if you don't know the right kind of people and you walk up there in one of them big marijuana fields, you liable to wind up not getting out of there.
You're exactly right.
A matter of fact, they have actually entrapped, I know, one state trooper intentionally and killed him.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
Yes, sir, because he was fixing to turn them all in. And that's their income, because whenever Reagan went up there and shut down all them coal mines, those people was about to starve, man. They didn't have no way of living.
Right. This right here, Grand Rivers in Livingston County.
Yeah.
Back in the old days, it was called the island
Yes.
because it was surrounded by
A
water.
peninsula, basically.
And there were no bridges.
Right.
This was before they built the dam.
Right.
And this is where all they made all the moonshine and everything. For the federal agents to get across the river, they had to get on a barge and come across, or a ferry boat.
And they'd see them.
Oh yeah, they had people watching.
They'd spot them.
They didn't have a shot at it.
I was told they lost 4 or 5 revenuers almost every year. Almost every year.
I don't doubt that.
And they had a predominant business up here, and that's the reason why I say that I don't doubt the rumors that I picked up on that costed Kennedy his life. And I didn't realize how badly Kennedy was hated. Did you know that whenever he was assassinated in Dallas, Texas, that there was all kinds of freaking commotions going on, and people had signs hanging off their freaking doors and their windows and stuff, wanted dead or alive. I don't know what he had done, but whatever it was, man, they was after that freaking guy. They hated him, didn't they?
Yes. And
I think it was Bobby.
Martin.
I think it was Bobby more so that they hated.
Well, they got him too.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you studied on him and his background, but he wasn't just for black folks.
Oh, I know. He was for
He was for anybody.
equal, whatever we call it. Yeah.
He was for anybody.
Yeah. Well, anytime you become an influence that the government disagrees with, they're going to automatically see you as a threat. Did you know when
Like I said, if you preach Jesus Christ,
they're going to see you as a threat?
you got a threat. You're a threat.
Well, did you know that whenever the Beatles first come over here to America, this is just about time whenever Ed Sullivan finally broke down and let Elvis Presley on the camera, but he didn't show him, only from the waist down. Did you know that they was freaking out over the Beatles, and they actually put secret agents to watch them and to identify everything that they was doing, because they didn't know for sure while they was over. Well, you keep in mind, you know, it was Great Britain, England, that we basically had to fight the Revolutionary War, and they didn't know if it was going to be somebody coming over here that had that kind of influence or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So I mean, that was just a protected deal. But getting back to my little deal up here at LBL, I already done already left, and I found a spot over there in Aurora, Kentucky, probably about 1.5 miles, 2 miles past where that restaurant and that thing over there is, that park or whatever it's called over there, where you can rent out campsites. I think they got a restaurant and stuff over there at Aurora.
Ken Lake.
Yeah, Ken Lake. I was probably about 2 miles over there, pretty close to where that some sort of a experimental thing or science thing or something was over there. Anyways, I got a good spot. You know, they had hot water, they had a bathroom, and they let me have 30 days for $60. And I thought, well, heck, Father, that's decent. That's good.
Yeah.
You know.
Good.
So I'm camping. And in the meantime, while I'm camping, God inspired me, because I never do something on my own. God inspired me to go to Paducah, go to Kinko's, get a bunch of material typed up and written up. And I started at Grand Rivers, and I went from Grand Rivers to Benton, from Benton to Calvert City, from Calvert City all the way to Paducah, dropping off material at churches. At churches now. I wasn't dropping off material in malls to just random people. I was dropping the material off at churches, and whenever I got to Paducah, Kentucky, you know what I was greeted with, sir?
No.
About 10 cops under gunpoint held me, arrested me, booked me while I was in jail. A white-headed old man come in there. He goes, Mr. Jackson, he handed me a piece of paper. He said, do you know anything about this? And I looked at the piece of paper. I said, yeah. What's wrong with it? I said, that's the material that I've been passing out. He goes, well, it says something on there about electrical disturbances, right? I go, yes, sir. God showed me that there was going to be massive electrical disturbances. Well, I hate to tell you this. He looked at me kind of funny. He goes, but right now they've shut down the Kentucky Dam thinking that you're going to create electrical disturbance by blowing the dam up. I go, you got to be shitting me. I go, how in the world did they get that out of that? He said, well, I don't know, but somebody has misinterpreted your information. They, after I got through talking to that guy, he was probably a mayor or something. I don't know, some big wheel there in Paducah. They wound up getting 2 state troopers to take me to Four Rivers Behavior Center in Mayfield. And at that time, that was before the tornado hit, they had to wake up whatever doctor that it was on duty. This was probably about 1 o'clock at night. She comes in there and interviews me for about 2 hours. And when it was all said and done, she said, Mr. Jackson, you ain't done nothing wrong. She said, they need to let you go. I go, thank you, ma'am.
You already knew that.
Thank you. Well, state troopers now are saying to themselves, what are we going to do with him now? Well, you know what they done with me? They took me back to Paducah and dropped me off and said, sayonara. Well, in the meantime, my truck's been impounded. My truck's up there at Local 1 in between Mayfield and Paducah, and I somehow or another, I got to get all the way back up there to get my truck. So the following next day, after me sleeping out in a graveyard being ate up by mosquitoes, I wound up walking, hitchhiking, going up there at Local 1 up there, and I got to talking to him. I said, y'all need to let me have my truck back. We can't give you your truck. I go, do what? You're under investigation, Mr. Jackson. We cannot give you your truck. I go, you've had plenty of time to investigate the truck. I go, obviously, I'm not going to harm the dam. I don't have intentions of harming the dam. All I was trying to do was warn you people that was something that God had showed me, that there was going to be electrical disturbances. And there you can have a multitude of electrical disturbances, from solar flares to ice storms to tornadoes to hurricanes, you name it, to the system being overloaded and causing it to shut down. You can have a multitude of electrical disturbances without somebody going to create the electrical disturbance. Well, he said, come back here in about 2 hours. He said, I'll let you know.
It just so happens I worked at a power plant over in Southern Illinois for 36 years.
Uh-huh. And you know how critical stuff like that is. Well, whenever I walk back in there, he goes, well, I got good news and bad news. I go, all right, tell me the good news. He goes, you can get your truck back. All right, okay. What's my bad news? Well, you got to pay us $187 for a rollback. See? I go, you're telling me that I was not held under any type of doctor's order. I didn't get a ticket or a fine one. The doctor released me last night and said I was good to go. And you're telling me that I'm going to have to pay for y'all's mistake? Yes, sir. That's what you're going to have to do. Did you know that guy copped an attitude on me? And I thought for a minute that he was going to possibly not only not give me back my truck, I thought maybe possibly he was going to arrest me. Again. Because I was upset because of what went on. So I went ahead and paid $187. So this is my story. I'll let that slide off my back. I thought, okay, this is just a bad ordeal, bad misunderstanding. So now I go back to my campsite over there at Aurora. This is about 7 days later. It's in the middle of the night. I'm by myself. There probably wasn't but 2 people at that whole campsite. And it's a primitive campsite. You can't stay there indefinitely. just a primitive campsite, and I already had my PJs on, laying just almost asleep, and all of a sudden my freaking little red tent that I was sleeping in started glowing.
Rolling.
Glowing.
Really?
Glowing.
Glowing.
Glowing. And the first thing I thought of was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Of course, whenever you hear somebody on a PA, Mr. Jackson, come out with your hands up, you know that it ain't no UFO. There was like 7 or 8 cars, all of them was in big old LTD cars with them big freaking powerful lights on. Every one of them was running and had them lights pointed directly at my tent, wanting to know if I had any implications or any intentions of wanting to blow up the Kentucky Dam. And I looked at these people, I said, where in the world are you people coming up with this stuff at? Well, we got a report that you've already done had one brush in with the law, and we got another report that you was possibly going to do something up here around the dam, and we had to come up here and check it out. It was 2 TVI guys, it was a FBI guy, it was 2 deputies from Murray, Kentucky, that county. What is that, Callaway County? Callaway County over there, and a supervisor. Yes. And they was all wanting to know if I had any intentions. Did you know? I said, man, you're more than welcome to go through my stuff. And they did. Trust me, they did. And when it was all said and done with, they said, well, have a good day, after I got ate up by mosquitoes. But if I would have had even so much as a book of matches in my tent that night, I'd have probably went to jail. They was out to get me. And I know it sounds kind of comical and funny in a way, but I mean, whenever something like that happens to you on 2 different occasions, the following next day, I got on my knees and I started praying, and I asked God, I said, God, what's going on here? He said, they're trying to take you out. You know, just like you was telling me a while ago, that anytime you're doing something good, the devil is going to try to stop it, right? God spoke to me. He said, you need to get out of here because they're going to take you down. He said, you already got on their radar screen pretending to your dad. If you first come up here, somebody has already put some sort of false information out to people thinking that you're some sort of maniac. And now they've come out here at your campsite twice. He said, you better get the hell out of here. You know what I done? I packed up and left, buddy. Oh, yeah. I went to Denver, Colorado and stayed about probably 4 or 5 months and finished out the summer and got me a job. And I thought to myself, man, wasn't that close? But I'll be darned if I come back in 2009 and this time they nab me up. Again.
Dennis, I gotta go.
Took me to Paducah, Kentucky in front of a federal judge. And then they took 6 months out of my life. And not only that, but 2 years after that, they drove all the way to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and nabbed me up again and took almost a whole year out of my life in Trigg County, Kentucky. So whenever I get to looking at these spots around here pertaining to memories and principles and what I was doing pertaining to trying to glorify God with, buddy, I get a flood of ideals whenever I come up here. And a lot of them are bad, but most of them are good, you know, because it is a beautiful area up here.
Oh, it is. It's beautiful.
But I've been knowing Chip now.
I have got to go. I got to go to the bathroom.
Okay. Well, you can come back.
It's been nice talking to you.
Well, you can come back.
Well, I doubt that. I got to sleep sometime. I got a job to take care of tomorrow.
Okay. Good talking to you. I hope I see you tomorrow.
Well,
I know. I've been knowing Chip now for over 30 years.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. I know a lot of people up here.
Well, Chip's my best friend.
He is. Ask him about me. You probably already have heard about me.
No, not that I know of.
You ain't heard about the ordeal with the dam being shut down?
No. You
ain't heard about the ordeal when the ice storm hit that I was up here at Grand Rivers doing free humanitarian work with the guy over here, what's his name, that used to work for the fire station over here, and he wound up getting fired or quit or something? Troy?
I don't know Troy.
Okay, well, I was helping him directly whenever doing free humanitarian work, and somebody identified me and kicked me out of Grand Rivers. I wound up going all the way to the other end of Livingston County, and the following next day, This was during the ice storm now when everything was shut down.
Oh, yeah.
I was out here cutting down trees and stuff. The Livingston County cops got 2 deputies that escorted me out of Livingston County and took me to Paducah, Kentucky, to the next county over, and said, if you come back, you'll be arrested.
I have got to go. I'm gonna
Okay. All right.
mess up.
See ya. Yes, sir.